Good morning and welcome. My name is Scott Stenslick. I am President and CEO of Superior Group. We are a global Buffalo-based provider of workforce solutions and business services. Our vision is to connect people and business in ways that change lives. If you'd like to find out more about how we can favorably impact your business, I urge you to stop by our booth located just outside the exhibit hall doors to your left. Superior Group became involved in the Bright Forum 5 years ago because we wanted to make a difference and have a voice in the collaborative effort to grow a knowledge-based economy in Buffalo, Niagara, and throughout upstate New York. Meaningful private sector involvement is a critical ingredient in a successful outcome to this endeavor. I urge others in the private sector to join in. We welcome your involvement. Now on to the presentations. Each presenter will be given 10 minutes to provide a presentation on their product. The presenters will receive a 5-minute warning, a 2-minute warning, a 1-minute warning as their presentation comes to its conclusion. At the end of the last minute, I will approach the podium as you complete your presentation, and we would like very much to stick to the schedule as much as possible. In addition, I want to mention that all presenters will be available to speak at the exhibit hall and at networking events throughout today. So our first presenter today is GiveGab. Aaron Godera will present.
Hi everyone, my name is not Aaron Goddard. I'm Charlie Mulligan, the CEO of GiveGab. Originally our CTO was going to be here rather than myself, so we have a little switch right away. But actually, how do we get the slides? Oh, there we go. So GiveGab is a social network for volunteers. We help volunteers and nonprofit groups connect with each other based on their skills and interests. We also help them communicate with each other and track and record activities. So in a way, we're like LinkedIn for volunteering. So I always like to start off by explaining to people the way we see the nonprofit world and the volunteer world. There's really 3 main groups in the volunteer world. There's nonprofit groups and other organizations that need volunteers in order to accomplish their mission. But there's also communities of volunteers, like businesses, like universities, that encourage their employees or their students to volunteer because they know that students that volunteer are more likely to graduate, have higher morale, do better in life, and it's just better for their organization as a whole. And also universities love to tout their engagement with local communities, as we just heard from Provost before. So it's an important part of every university. And finally, there's the volunteers themselves. And for a lot of volunteer management systems or software, they're kind of the forgotten piece. But what really sets GiveGab apart is we focus on the volunteers. We focus on the needs of volunteers themselves. People volunteer for 3 main reasons. They want to make a difference, they want to socially interact and have fun, and they want to gain a sense of recognition and accomplishment. And if we can help nonprofits pay this non-monetary compensation to volunteers, then they will have lots of volunteers. But if they don't pay this compensation, then they will have a very tough time getting volunteers. So one of the stories I like to tell is one of our first pilot programs is Marywood University. It's a little Catholic school in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It has 2,200 college students that volunteer 71,000 hours a year. Before GiveGab, each of those students would go find a place to volunteer. They would take a piece of paper, write down what they did. They would write down a reflections journal because part of what they're trying to do is show that they've learned something from volunteering. They would write down how many hours they volunteered, and then they would get that signed off by the volunteer manager. And at the end of the year, Marywood had 71,000 hours of paperwork that they literally, and I'm not making this up, they literally had 2 nuns take the entire summer to enter all of this data into their volunteer management software. GiveGab eliminates all of this data entry, and it's a hugely powerful thing that we can provide. So just a few quick slide shots. I'll go through them real quick. You can see we're a fully featured social network, so people can engage completely within the context of volunteering. They can encourage other people to volunteer more often. They can tell the story of their nonprofit experience. So it's a lot more than just logging hours. It's sharing pictures and videos and experiences and inviting your friends to volunteer. They can also find places to volunteer, like I said before, based on their skills and interest, but also based on where their friends are volunteering. Because again, volunteering is a very social thing. It's a social thing when you're younger, and it's about networking as you get older, but that's an incredibly important piece for volunteering, and that's something that GiveGab does better than anyone. But what's great for universities is that they can start to build up a dynamic reporting of their impact and their students' engagement with the local community. This is dynamic, and it's not just does it reduce data entry, it is something that's happening on the fly, and there's pictures and videos and other things that really help show that university's engagement. And then finally, there's very powerful analytical tools that universities can use to qualify for President's Honor Roll and Campus Compact and other organizations that keep track of volunteering. So how does GiveGab make money? Well, we have 3 ways to make money. We have a subscription model for nonprofits and for universities and corporations that choose to upgrade to our premium feature set. We also have enterprise solutions for larger organizations that want something that's more customized that integrates right into their site. So one of our first customers was Cornell's alumni that wanted to use us to manage all of their alumni volunteering. But we're excited to say that we're this close to getting a yes from the country of New Zealand to manage all of their volunteering. So even though we're a little startup out of Ithaca, we have a pretty broad reach right now, so we're pretty excited where we're moving. And then finally, we anticipate having 21 million active users by 2016. So since my background's in advertising, I'm very excited about that number, and I know there's lots of ways to monetize that. So our go-to-market strategy is pursuing universities. Not only are they great customers, but the average university has thousands of students that are volunteering and interacts with hundreds of nonprofits. So we've found that each time we get a university, we build up a local ecosystem. We have lots of students volunteering, we have lots of nonprofits on our site, and that brings on a lot of other people as well. So it's not just students that are engaged, but the students started off. It's the same way Facebook started off just for college students, but it slowly kind of bleeds into the rest of the population. We've done great with that. So we're making great progress. We raised funds in March, and since then, we've jumped to having 217 universities that are on our site, and we have 15 that have upgraded to premium. So we're very excited about our progress in a very short amount of time. We've also got over 2,000 nonprofits on our site. And this just comes from our interaction with universities. So our strategy to get nonprofits on our site via universities is working very well. And then here's what I'm really excited about. Our user growth is jumping dramatically. Right now it's about 24% per month. So yes, we're still very small, but 24% per month gets us to 21 million users by the end of by the end of 2016. That's a huge number. We have a long way to go, but that's our goal, and right now we're on pace for that goal. We also know how to make revenue. So most social networks, yes, we're focusing on users first, revenue second, but we are making money right now because this is important. There's a lot of companies like Pinterest, for example. They had 20 million users, they had $1 billion valuation, but they had no idea how to make money. We already know how to make money with this. So, as I said before, my name is Charlie Mulligan. I'm the CEO. My background is in sales and management and advertising. I managed a company with 60 employees, and I know how to drive growth. We had shopping guides that when I took over at running the company, we had 1.8 million in sales, and 5 years later we had 7 million a year in sales. And so I think if we can scale print advertising, we should be able to scale a social network. Our CTO ran systems integration at Cornell. He's a fantastic manager. He really knows how to build up the team. And so right now we have 20 employees, but we're set up to be able to have 100 employees once we really grow, and we have the management structure to do that. So again, here's our growth potential. We're focusing on users right now, but that doesn't mean we're not making revenue, and we're doing great with our revenue numbers right now, so we're pretty excited. And obviously, this is where we're headed. This is where we want to be. So we had raised funds in March, and we're in between Series A and Series B now. I don't want to say we're not raising money because you're always raising money. There is a little extra room for people to jump into Series A if they would like. We're not soliciting it. I heard that's against the rules, but if they come to us, that's fine. And then we are looking to do a Series B sometime next year. So, thank you.
Our second presenter this morning is Intrinsic Materials, Inc. Leading the presentation will be Sujatha Ramanujan.
Hello, and thank you for listening to us speak about intrinsic materials. Intrinsic materials is a nanoparticle-based electronic ink manufacturer based out of Rochester, New York. What we make are air-stable, room temperature curable, metallic, and semiconducting inks. What we currently sell are copper-based inks made to either screen print or inkjet, and we also have developmental efforts with nickel, nickel silicide, and silicon, which can be NRP doped. And what we're doing here is we're offering the ability for our clients to take metals and print them like you'd print a t-shirt, print them like you'd print on your inkjet printer in air, in a controlled environment, standard printing equipment, and then use light to sinter it or light to cure it instead of heat, which means now we can print on paper, we can print on plastic, we can print on fabric. We have a very experienced management team running this business. We have Dr. Robert Knoyer, who's our president and CEO. He was raising manufacturing operations for material science companies for Kodak for 25 years, spun their optical films business out to Roman Haas and then to Dow. You have me. I was a program leader and the lab head for print electronics at Kodak. I was also part of their venture team. I was CTO for one of the businesses in Carestream. This is my third startup. And we have Dr. Richard Dixon out of the UK. He's a serial entrepreneur as well and has managed well over 100 million pounds worth of business. We have 30 employees. Most of us are technical. About 12 of us have PhDs. Intrinsic Materials was founded out of the Ministry of Defense in the United Kingdom, and it spun out as its own company in 2007. It is headquartered in Rochester, but we have facilities in Farnborough, England, where we have our R&D facilities, some pilot production, and our European business development. In Rochester, we have our headquarters, our ink development, we're scaling our manufacturing, and we have all of our US and Asia business development. The problem with conventional electronics that we are attempting to solve is the need for high power consumption, which all of the electronics is pretty much fabricated using vacuum systems at elevated temperature, very expensive materials such as silver, and a very subtractive process, meaning you had to put the material down and use nasty chemicals to remove what you don't want. So it's very nasty to the environment, and it has some very high temperature issues with it. Also, process changeover is extremely slow because you have to go through quite a bit of mass change and such. So inventory switching and small volume production is quite tricky in the electronics industry. Most things are targeted at high volume and take a slow process changeover. What we want to do is make on-demand electronics accessible to all of our electronic clients. So what makes our process so much nicer? If you look at a single layer of metal on all of the electronics you carry, such as your cell phone or your laptop, each layer of metal requires 7 steps of coating and chemicals and baking and stripping and flushing these things into the sewer systems, along with 70 to 80% of the metal that you originally deposited. So you're wasting, and it's nasty, and it's expensive. And in your printed circuit board, in your cell phone, there are at least 12 such layers. We just put the metal where you want it, hit it with the light and cure it, and then we're fine and we go, so we don't waste. So what do we do for our clients? We help them reduce waste. We help them use inkjetting and screen printing instead of vacuum processes. We reduce material consumption and nasty acids. We reduce costs by accessing cheaper metals like copper instead of silver. We can print on flexible substrates, enabling all kinds of really neat innovation, like wearable electronics. And we help them control their inventory, which is critical in any kind of high-volume application. We have commercial clients right now using our products in a series of areas, starting with printed circuit boards. We're not glamorous, but we're really functional. So we start with printed circuit boards. We do via fills. We do the copper metallization. We have key commercial clients in the US, Asia, and in Europe. We do the printed circuit boards behind LEDs of some of the largest lighting vendors out there, and we do the direct metallization into the LED, removing some of the circuit board. The reason we can do this is we can print copper, which means that it can take the heat right out of the LED and increase its lifetime. So we have some very key clients there in the US, Europe, and Asia. We have the ability and some clients printing antennas for RFIDs. It's typically done as an aluminum transfer process now. We directly print the copper right on the paper. And our last program that we list here is called Seed Layers. It's a little complex, but in a nutshell, we work with a company called Aditech. It is a billion-dollar subsidiary of Total, and they provide the process chemistry and the lines to companies such as Samsung and LG to print the display backplanes, and we provide the metallization. Just a quick look at one of the markets, the printed circuit board market, the addressable piece only. What you see here is the amount of money in the far left expended in billions of dollars just to copper plate printed circuit boards and to solder mask it. So it's something like a $20 billion spend. Using our materials, we find that our clients could access about $6 billion here. So they can save a lot of money, and we have a $6 billion addressable market. And that's just the printed circuit boards. That's not the interconnects and all the other wonderful things that we can do. So we have some very excited clients poised to save money and to help us grow. This is a list of some but not all of our clients. We have about an 80 customer client list. The top customer list there is Aditech, whom we mentioned earlier with the seed layers. The next three, MFlex, Murata, and ATS, are all printed circuit board manufacturers. AT&S is Europe's largest manufacturer, and Murata is one of Japan's largest. MFlex is also about an $800 million company. The LED companies are a lot more secretive about who they are, but they are among the largest lighting companies in the world. We work with Mollbauer, which is an RFID company, and in the bottom box here we list Infineon. Infineon helps us with some of our up-and-coming products, such as the nickels and nickel silicides and the silicon. And the reason we do that is ultimately it is our goal not just to offer the copper and the metallization, but a compatible material set that people can use across electronics and really print the whole story. We have some serious competitive advantages over what is out there currently. Traditional silver can be used, but it's 60% more, we're 60% less expensive. Our process is cleaner, and we can be operating in air and at room temperature. And printed silver, where you can try to inkjet silver, it can be done. We are at least half the price that they are. We also don't have to bake, which they do. And the competitors there are companies such as DuPont, who are also potentially our clients, and some of them are our clients. And in the semiconductor area, silicon does have to be vapor deposited. It certainly can't be printed. And we are the only printing company that can dope silicon and allow people to print logic. So we're very excited about this company and the opportunities that we have. We have an excellent client base, and I want to tell you a little bit about our round because we just had a soft close last week, and so a lot of our investors are here in the audience, and thank you. You really made this work for us. We have a goal that will be self-sustaining by 2014, and we are scaling our material manufacturing in Rochester. Should mention that the state of New York gave us the capital money and the manufacturing money to scale that manufacturing. So, as we all heard earlier, look to your local resources. They can really help you. We're expanding our marketing and sales reach. This was an SGA round for us. It is a $4.1 million round with participants including Trillium, Cayuga Ventures, RAND Capital, and we're very excited about it. We're keeping this round open for folks who are really interested, probably till the end of the year on these terms, so there is still opportunity. We have an exit strategy which consists of being able to sell this company to probably one of our clients, either a material science company or to somebody using our materials. And we already have these people pretty well in line already because they're part of that 80 customer client base. So this company has an excellent plan towards an exit strategy also. Well, what we have up here, I'm not going to try to read through, but it's our pro forma. But what I really wanted you to see is that we are actually making a fair amount of money right now. We have a gross profit expected this year in the millions and growing, so we expect to be at $6 million in gross profit next year, and really steadily growing our EBITDA year over year with a good operating profit. And part of the reason we did our last round is because we have really great product and a lot of people interested, and now we need the sales and service support to go out there and really service our clients. So thank you for taking the time to listen to us. We hope you like it.
Next up, our third presenter is Paramedic 92, LLC, led by Saeed Mustafa.
sorry. So good morning. My name is Ahmed Mustafa, and I am a practicing paramedic and volunteer firefighter from Rochester, New York, from West Webster. And I'm here today to talk to you and introduce you to a product that we call the Respirome. The Respirome is a life-saving device meant to assist volunteer and professional responders, both trained and untrained, in providing better respiratory and cardiac response in either respiratory or cardiac arrest. So why does this matter? In 2012, there were 12 million ventilation-related calls. Of that, 1.5 million were cardiac arrest patients, of which we saved only 30,000, or roughly 2% on a national average. Why does that happen? Because we know compressions and ventilations are often done incorrectly. In an adrenaline-filled, chaotic scene, it is very hard to remember to do what are the basic skills that are required to save a life, which is compressing at a rate of 100 and ventilating, which is not only an inspiration, but also an exhalation cycle. Many people use either a CPR mask, which a lot of you have been trained with, or something we call an ambu bag. And when you're using an ambu bag, it's important to remember that the inhalation is not just, but it's meant to be and when your adrenaline is going and there are family members standing by or there's fires in a car accident, you've got to get someone out, your tendency is to do this. And that is not conducive to longevity. So we know that without adequate and appropriate ventilations, patients won't survive. Why? Because intuitively people think, hey, more is better, right? That works for money, and certainly from my point of view, I'd take all your money because it would help me get started. But the reality is that when you hyperventilate a patient, you actually fill the stomach. By filling the stomach, two things happen. One is patients tend to regurgitate. Not very good from an airway point of view, also very messy. But as importantly, you actually create a pressure in the chest that prevents the heart from filling and emptying. And so you are actually working against yourself in delivering good cardiac compressions. And so what we want to do is we want to bring to market today the Respirome. And the Respirome is a cardiac and respiratory assistant. If you are using an AED or an automated electronic defibrillator, or if you're using even one of the $35,000 defibrillators that I use from Physio-Control or Medtronic, they tell you when to compress. And sometimes they tell you when to ventilate, but it's just a beep for ventilation. It does not give you a good inspiration and exhalation guide, which is what the Respirome does. So, how do we add value? We add value because unlike existing devices on the market, we are suitable for both adults, infants, and children, which means depending on the age of your patient, you don't have to have multiple devices or a device that's not suited for your patient. In addition, unlike other devices which are sold separately, our intention is to sell the Respirome as part of a bundled kit. When you pull the ambu bag out of your ambulance, the Respirome will be ready to go. And it's a very simple process to deploy, and if you have time at a break, stop by my booth and I'll show you our demonstration unit. The other thing is that this is the only device today that's in what I call the action area. So if you think about a cardiac defibrillator, it's on a 3-foot cord. As a paramedic, when I'm working on that patient, that thing is in my way. I tuck it behind my back, and frankly, I don't want to hear it or see it. This device is right over the patient's face. Whoops, there's gravity. And so it allows you the ability to not only have the person doing the ventilations, but also the person doing the compressions, as well as perhaps an EMS supervisor or a fire captain like myself standing over and saying, geez, why is nobody ventilating? Or to coach and say, slow your ventilations down. So it actually has the ability to have far more people affected and positively guided than something that we're using in the field today. The other thing that's unique about the Respirome is it's a single-use device. So that means it's very cost-effective. It goes along with everything that we have today, which in the field is disposable, because one of our biggest challenges in EMS is we've got to have fast turnaround times. GiveGab can track all the volunteer hours we give out there, but there's fewer and fewer people volunteering to do EMS because it's a very stressful, complicated environment that requires a lot of training. And so what happens is that you want to get those crews back on the road as quickly as possible. So having something you don't have to clean up, you literally take the ambu bag, the mask, and the Respirome, you discard it, and you're ready to go. So what's unique about the Respirome technology is that we are not just looking at one product. There's a lot of one-hit wonder companies out there that live and die on one idea. We actually have a whole product portfolio, which includes a training device, an application, something for the military. We actually, in our patent application, have filed for not only audio and visual cues, but also tactile response. So that if you're in a tactical environment, like unfortunately my fire department was on Christmas Eve, you don't want lights and sound drawing fire. You want to be able to keep your head down, turn off the lights and volume, and have the machine vibrate, so it'll give you an indication of when to squeeze and when not to squeeze. That is something unique in the field. So this device is applicable for a very broad market. In fact, when we look at the market size potential, it is not only professional responders, it is the millions of volunteers we have in the United States, as well as all the lay provider. Over 1 million people get trained in CPR through the American Heart Association every year. Every one of those is a candidate. Plus, if you think about it, think about every church you go to, every health club, every mall, every school in New York, and certainly more and more in the United States. Everyone has an automated external defibrillator, an AED. These are great places to put something because those are non-trained responders, being the first step in our 911 chain of life and survival, that could really benefit from a tool like this. So it's a neat idea. How do you get it to market, right? Our biggest challenge today is we've built some prototypes, we have a training app, we've done usability studies, but this is a Class 2 medical device. And so the reason we are here today, the reason I'm here today, is to ask for help in getting over our biggest hurdle, which is regulatory. This is a Class 2A medical device that needs to have all the prototyping, design, and FDA clearance provided before we can get it to market. So unlike other products where you can start selling as you're doing R&D, we cannot really get this in the field. So we're looking for help to get over that regulatory hurdle. Once we've done, there are very established sales channels in the EMS markets that we'll use. So the first one will be to go into our first responder market, right? That is an area where we know people are doing this for the right reasons. Kind of like as the first presenter said, you know, people volunteer for a variety of reasons. It's personal fulfillment, and in our case, to save lives. And we want devices that will help us do that better, right? 2%, if any manufacturing company got away with a 2% quality rate, I think it would be amazing, right? But we actually pride ourselves in the United States on a 2% survival rate. I want to change that. I want more people to go home every day. After we go through first responders and some of our more traditional channels, we expect to scale up through catalogs and major distribution centers like Mackeson to go into first responders and then add it to hospitals. Think of all the nursing homes and all the hospital facilities. You know, Strong, where I practice out of, Rochester General, there are dozens of hospital beds that are often short-staffed, and when you bring in one code, a lot of resources go there. Well, when you start bringing 2, 3, and 4 in, like we did last weekend, resources get taxed, and they need the help. And then beyond that, you start going through more of the traditional marketing. Whoops, I think I broke it. So what's our financial plan? You know, we won't go into a lot of detail here, but we're asking for $1 million, and in the first year we're expecting we'll need $250,000. We've spoken with several consultants who say that because there are predicate devices on the market, we expect to get FDA clearance within about 90 days. So we believe that after doing our prototyping, getting our product finalized, and getting it launched, submitting for FDA clearance, within 120 to 150 days, we can have a product ready to sell. Then we'll use the second $250,000 to start the first large-scale commercialization and commercialization, and then the second $500,000 to put the team together and really get it going. So we have a team poised for success. I've successfully worked on 3 startups. I've been in fire and EMS for more than 23 years this year, and you know, I'll tell you, there are a lot of products out there, and people always get passionate about it. But let me share you a story from Sunday, and then I'll close. I'm at a fire prevention detail in Webster, New York on Sunday. And of course, our community is very receptive to first responders after our Christmas Eve tragedy. And a woman walks up to me out of the blue, and she just gives me a huge hug. Now, normally that'd be pretty cool if I was married to her, but in this case I wasn't. And I kind of looked, I said, you know, how can I help you? And she said, in April of this year, I was in cardiac arrest, and you saved my life. There is nothing more fulfilling than hearing words like that from someone in a completely public forum. So I'm here today to ask you to help me make this product, this dream, a realization, so we don't send 30,000 people home. Maybe next year we can send 30,101 home. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, moving along, our fourth presenter this morning is Refulgent Software, led by Ansar Khan.
Hi everyone, my name is Ansar Khan. I'm one of the founders of Refulgent Software. There we go. So today I'll be talking to you about Amber. It's a point-of-sale system for food service businesses. The story of Amber starts at my family's restaurant, Kebab and Curry in Williamsville. Both my partner and I were waiters here, and my partner wasn't too fond of writing his orders down on a notepad. So just like anybody else would, he decided to build an application that would allow him to take orders right on his iPhone. Now, this was an improved system, something better than the notepad, but he still had to go to our old POS terminal, put the order in, and then and only then would he go to the kitchen. So James, my partner, also had experience building an application that allowed him to sync data wirelessly between iOS devices. So we knew the iPad was coming out, and we decided to establish Refulgent with the purpose of developing and marketing Amber. So a point-of-sale system is the central computer for the restaurant. And that's why this was a very challenging problem, because we needed to build a system that was going to be able to run businesses, and that's very different from your usual application. So a point-of-sale system does everything from order taking to reporting, inventory, payroll. Everything needs to be handled by that one computer. So it's a very important part of the business. So we saw a lot of problems with existing systems, and that's why we decided to tackle this. So primarily, they're very, very hard to use. You need a professional to set it up. A lot of the screens look like that, so with an industry that has a very, very high employee turnover, it's not fun to keep on training people on this screen. There's no concept of updates. Once you buy a point-of-sale system, you're stuck with it. And you can upgrade every 5 to 10 years, but we feel that that's a little too slow. There's no good mobile solutions. These companies are too used to developing interfaces for large 15-inch screens, and when you scale that down to a 7-inch tablet, it doesn't look too pretty. And there's no trials of any sort. You're given a demo for maybe 2 to 3 hours, and then you're expected to spend $5,000 to $7,000 per terminal, which is a very, very high cost for a small to medium-sized business. So looking at all these problems, we wanted to build a system that was easy to use, yet powerful enough to meet the needs of all of our customers, all of the food service market. And that's exactly what Amber is. So Amber is intended to be used by the waitstaff and management. The waitstaff have it great because they have access to the point-of-sale system no matter where they are. Whether they're at a table taking an order, they take the order, they press send, the order goes right to the kitchen. They're at the table, they can swipe the credit card without ever leaving the table. And if they're running from the bar to the front, they can print a check, apply a discount. Whatever it is they have to do, they can do it from any iOS device. The management's got it even better. They've got a system that they fully understand, a system that they feel comfortable with, and a system they can maintain on their own. And it still has all the functionality that they're used to. So everything from reporting to inventory to payroll processing, everything can be done right on the iPad. And as a company, we're not just a software company, we're a complete solution provider. So if a restaurant owner calls us, we're able to give them the software, the hardware, everything from the iPads to the Ethernet cables. We'll hook them up with the right credit card processor, and we can even set up their entire menu, email them one file, and with one tap, they can import all that information and be ready to go live. So we're there throughout the process from beginning to the end until they go live. And not only do we do this directly, but we've also got an active reseller channel where we've partnered up with companies throughout America that are servicing our customers. So right now, we're being used by over 700 businesses in 29 countries. We've built a software that it services the entire food service market, and our customers include full-service restaurants, quick-service restaurants, bars, cafes, food trucks, and we're very, very proud of that. So the opportunity is still huge. We've got almost 1 million food service businesses here in America that need point-of-sale systems. Also, this number does not include food trucks, and the turnover rate is very high as well. So around 23% of food service businesses fail within the first year. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to get back in the door and make those sales over and over again. And as I mentioned, we already have customers in 28 other countries, and we've also translated Amber into Hebrew and Chinese. And in both those, in Taiwan and in Israel, we've got exclusive resellers that sell Amber to customers and also are able to support it. So in this round, we're looking to raise $700,000, and that'll be used in 4 broad categories, and I'll go through each one. So on the development side, we've done a great job. We've built a great product, and we've done 11 major updates over the past 28 months. But we realize that we can't meet the needs of all of our customers just because they're too unique. So we want to develop an API that will allow us to talk to different applications and really offer each customer a more customized solution. So let's pretend a large chain restaurant has a unique reservation system and they want to tie in with us, with our API, they'll be able to do that. And that way we're not fitting everything into one application. On the sales and marketing side, we've done a great job of acquiring customers with a very limited budget. So we want to continue going to trade shows. We want to continue our online campaigns. We've been very effective at driving traffic to our site and actually being able to convert them to customers. Also, we've worked closely with restaurant associations, so that allows us to deliver the message in a very trusted environment. And on top of that, we also want to build an enterprise sales team that will allow us to go after larger accounts that bring in more profit. So there's still a segment of the market that would like somebody local throughout the whole process, setting the POS up for them, and that is what our reseller channel is great for. So as I mentioned, we've already got 30 partners across America, and we want to grow those partnerships. We want to give them more resources because instead of opening remote offices, this is a lot easier for us to do, a lot easier for us to manage, and much more cost effective. So we've got some exciting developments coming up. We're about to release version 2.0 of Amber. This is a fully revamped, completely redesigned version with over 100 new features. And this has been in the works for the past 12 months, and we can't wait for our customers to get their hands on it. We're also launching a very exciting partnership with a large credit card processor. This credit card processor does credit card processing and leasing, and they've already got 30,000 customers. And we're going to white label Amber for them. They want to call it Pineapple, and they're going to use it for their existing customers and also to acquire new customers. We also want to tackle the Spanish translation and partner up with companies in each country to be our sales and support staff. And we want to get our API developed by August of next year. Here's a quick snapshot of our financial performance. So the app went on sale on April 29th, 2011, and we were profitable within the first year. We're a bootstrap company. We don't have any debts at the moment. And by 2016, we want to be at around 8,000 customers, and that's about 1% of the food service market. At this point, we do have a term sheet from Z80. We're currently in due diligence with the Buffalo Angels, and that's where we stand on the investment front. Here's a quick chart that shows you our customer growth since 2011. And this is what we're projecting till the end of 2016. Thank you for your time.
So we're at our fifth and final presenter for the first morning session. Next presenting is Terraport Technologies, led by Rachel Doran.
Okay, good morning. My name is Rachel Doran, and I'm here with Terraport Technologies. I'd like to start by just giving a brief introduction to our company. Terraport is in the business of developing and manufacturing high-performance filters or membranes for the biopharmaceutical industry. And our membranes have over a 10x performance improvement relative to conventional membranes, and we can do this at the same price point as conventional membranes. Our technology is also patent protected. The market that we're targeting for our filters is the biopharmaceutical industry. It's attractive because it's large and it's growing. It was $4.3 billion in 2011, growing at a rate of almost 10% annually. And just to give you some background, some history of the company, we're a Cornell University spin-out. We're very young. We were just founded in April of this year, and in June we opened a lab and office space in Rochester, New York. We're currently funded through an NSF SBIR grant. Now, the problem that Terraport is helping to solve is that in biopharmaceutical manufacturing, Making biologic therapeutics or drugs is very expensive. And this industry is undergoing a serious paradigm shift, shifting away from small molecule drugs towards biologics, which are proteins and larger molecules. It turns out that manufacturing these biologic drugs costs on the order of about $1,000 per gram to produce. So they're a very high value product. And up to 80% of that cost comes from the downstream or the purification of that product. Now, membranes are used extensively in this purification process, but to date they've been very performance limited. There's been no technological advances in membranes for the past several decades. So this industry is facing a number of cost pressures from all angles, and it's clear that they need radical improvements in their purification technologies to remain competitive. Now, one key way that we can help address this need is by improving membrane performance. And the addressable market for membranes in downstream biopharmaceutical processing is very attractive. It's expected to reach a size of 7.4 billion by 2016. Again, that's a CAGR of almost 10% annually, so the industry is really shifting in that direction. Because of the technology advances that TerraPore can achieve with our membranes, we actually have the opportunity to expand this addressable market and start using membrane purification in areas where previously they couldn't be used. The key takeaway is that what drives costs in this market is membrane performance. So let's talk a little bit about membrane performance. I'd like to show you how TerraPore's membranes are better and faster than conventional membranes. So there's two classes of membranes that exist conventionally today. They're classified as either track-etched membranes or as phase-inverted membranes. Now here you can see a zoomed-in picture of a track-etched membrane, and the small black dots that you see are the pores in the top surface. And they're very uniform in size, and that's great. That means that we can distinguish or separate between very similarly sized molecules, or we can get a high resolution or high quality separation. But unfortunately, because of the way these membranes are manufactured, you can't get a very high pore density, you can't put a lot of pores in that top surface, so your throughput or productivity is very limited. That's really limited track-etched membranes to use in R&D and low-volume applications. A second type of conventional membrane is called a phase-inverted membrane. Here's a zoomed-in picture of one. It's basically a tangled polymer network. Now, the advantage of these phase-inverted membranes is that you can get a lot of throughput through the material, and that's absolutely critical in downstream biopharmaceutical processing, because every minute that's spent in the purification suite just adds cost to your final product. Now, unfortunately, because of the way these membranes are made, you have very broad pore size distributions, so you have some small pores, some medium-sized pores, and some large pores, and that really limits the quality or the resolution of your separation. Now, in contrast, TerraPore has developed a technology that allows us to get the best of both worlds, and it's based on a specialty type of block copolymer that self-assembles. So we get very uniform pores, and we get a very high density, so we can offer very excellent performance to our customers. Improving the performance of these membranes in the biopharmaceutical industry will directly decrease the cost of manufacturing biologics for our customers. Now, I mentioned that TerraPore's filters have extremely excellent resolution, high-quality separations, but we also have very excellent throughput as well, as you can see from this cross-sectional SEM. The top layer of our membrane, what's known as the separation layer that actually contributes to the performance of the membrane, is very thin. It's on the order of about 100 nanometers. That means we don't have to move the solution very far to actually get a very high quality separation, and that translates to extremely high throughput, which you can see in the graph on the right, where the yellow bar is the throughput of TerraPore's membranes, and it's being compared to a conventional membrane shown as the blue bar. And I should mention that this comparison is to the phase-inverted, the high throughput conventional membrane. So our value proposition to customers is a rapid process, high quality separation at the same price point. Now, the competitive landscape in this industry is very concentrated. It's dominated by a few of the key players that you see here, for example, GE Healthcare, Pall Corporation, and Millipore Corporation. We're actively engaged with a few of these players because we believe that to achieve full-scale commercialization, we're going to be partnering with one of these major players in the industry. Our plan for commercialization is to actually manufacture and synthesize our specialty block copolymer in our labs in Rochester. That's really one of our core competencies. And we'll also manufacture our membrane up to a certain area in our Rochester facilities. We'll then ship our membrane media to an OEM. We've already identified the OEM and started to partner with them, who will actually house our membrane media in a device configuration, and will distribute our membrane devices to select academic and industrial partners, several of which we already have relationships with, and several of which are very interested in getting their hands on our media. And finally, we expect the scale-up of our membrane devices to parallel the scale-up of the products that are purified using our devices. Now, the team that's executing on this business plan includes myself. I'm a co-founder of the company, and I'm a co-inventor of our core technology. I received my PhD from Cornell University in material science and engineering. The co-founder of the company is Professor Ulrich Wiesner. He's also down at Cornell. He's a world-leading expert in block copolymer self-assembly. He has over 150 peer-reviewed journal articles, and he's spun out multiple companies based on inventions created in his labs. Also on our technical team, based in our Rochester lab, we have Dr. Susan Dawson. Dr. Dawson has over 15 years of experience at Kodak, taking R&D scale technologies and bringing them to the production phase. She was adjunct faculty at RIT, and she's really an expert in polymer chemistry and processing. And on our advisory board, we also have Dr. Tony Wachinski. Tony recently retired from Pall Corporation, one of the major players in this space, where he was the senior vice president and global technical director. He has decades of experience translating membrane manufacturing from the R&D scale all the way to the full production scale, and he has numerous contacts within this space. So we're a young company. We have a small team now, but we're actively seeking to expand both our management team as well as our technical team. Now, in terms of financials, the great thing about TerraPore is that membranes are an excellent business because our devices are very high revenue and they're very high margin products. So our go-to-market strategy is really going to rely on key strategic customer relationships. That means we won't have to manage a huge number of sales and marketing people or have a large number of accounts to actually reach profitability. So based on our modeling, we believe we can reach profitability by the end of 2016. Our current financial needs include a seed round of $500,000, which we're raising now. We're planning to leverage this seed funding with non-dilutive grants, several of which we've already applied for and are in the pipeline, and several of which we'll be applying for through the end of the year. Key uses of this seed round include hiring the technical personnel that we need, as well as our management team, and expanding our lab facilities in Rochester. And the milestones that we anticipate to achieve with this seed round include the distribution of a number of our prototype units to our strategic partners, as well as a signed JDA with a strategic customer. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for your time. I'd also like to thank the organizers of this Venture Forum for the opportunity to talk today. I'll be around all day, and I'd be happy to talk to anyone who's interested in learning more about our company.